All right, this might get interesting for you. Remember when we talked about conversion marketing and we did a t-test? Well, now we're going to compute that t-statistic again, but we're computing it in a different way. So we're going to label this row t-statistic. And to get that t-statistic here, all we're going to do is we're going to take the absolute value of B2 over B3. So B2 divided by B3. Obviously, since this top one is negative, this is going to be negative, but we don't care about that. We want the absolute value, so we type in ABS, we put that fraction there in parentheses, and so we get that number. And then to look up whether or not this t-value is significant, right? Remember when we did the t-test, when we discussed conversion marketing a few modules ago, we looked up whether it was significant by using a table. But we can actually just use an Excel formula here. So similar to the f-dist, we have the t-dist. So let's just call this the p-value, and all we have to do in this cell is type in equals t-dist, and then put in cell B4, the t-statistic. And then we also want to put in a constant Z3. So let's go over here to Z3. Let me try this again. There we go. Constant Z3. And we're going to put a 2 in here because that's a two-tailed test. And so look, there's our degrees of freedom right there, 980. And okay, so now we have that p-value for male, which is interesting, seeing as how this didn't show up as a statistically significant predictor as to whether or not somebody's pregnant being male. Right, if we did that for real, it probably would. So let's drag this out here. And we can interpret this just like always and say for this p-value, we can say, okay, if this number here is less than, oh, whoops, I accidentally made an error here. Oh, I see the mistake here. Okay, so I forgot to make Z5 a constant. So back over here on the model coefficients tab, I have to take x5 and put some dollar signs here, and then I should be able to send this across. All right. And so that's the mistake from before. And now I should be able to click enter on each of these, and it's going to give me a different value, hopefully, for each one. Although fairly similar looking, you can see they are turning out to be different. Unfortunate that I have to go through and click enter on each one of these. Okay, now that I've clicked enter on each one of those, I can now copy, and I'm going to repaste this over here into row 3, paste special, and just the values. And now I should have, so if I take the absolute value of that, and I look that up in the t-distribution, and I drag these across the rows, I should be able to see different values across the bottom here. I think this is just a matter of my computer not wanting to cooperate with me. So if I go through and I press enter on each one of these, you can see that I'm getting wildly different t-statistics on all of these. And this is not normal. It must be something I messed up, some sort of setting. But you can see along row 4 that these t-statistic values are looking now like what they should look like. Okay, and so I just went through and clicked enter on each one of these to make sure that we got a different t-statistic for each one. Now I've got to do the same thing with the p-value, so looking this up, and of course now you see we're getting different p-values on each one of these. We see that home is significant. apartment is significant, male and female were not. Now I'm just going to go through all of these and do the same thing. So let me just highlight this row now. So I went through and clicked enter on each one. You can see these are our p-values for each coefficient. And I'll throw on some conditional formatting. And you can see that the really, really low numbers here in red, these are ones that are highly predictive of whether or not someone's going to be pregnant. The green ones, not so much. This yellow one is predictive, right? Because that's a below 0.05. So any of these, we're just talking with the below 0.05 threshold, right? We would interpret these as being significant. The body pillow is not significant. Again, since we use the evolutionary solver, your values may be different from mine. Also, we have a lot of independent variables, and in real life, if you use this many, these numbers are going to become ever harder to interpret exactly what they mean. So we have figured out the coefficients, we've developed a model, we've sort of done a lot here so far. I think you kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes when we're talking about regression now.